The hidden desire for chaos. In the quiet chambers of the human soul, there lies a truth too often ignored. It is a truth that whispers in the midst of our most cherished bonds, a truth that speaks of desires not yet understood. In relationships, we often believe that stability, peace, and harmony should be the ultimate goal. Yet many women find themselves growing restless in the very arms they once sought solace. Why does this happen? What is it that stirs the heart, even when all seems well? It is not a deficiency in love, nor is it the absence of connection. No, it is something deeper, something ingrained in the very fabric of our nature, a hidden yearning for chaos. Chaos not as destruction, but as a force that challenges the stagnant waters of complacency, that demands growth and transformation. This desire is not to be feared, for it is not a sign of failure, but of the inherent longing for vitality, for meaning beyond the mundane. In understanding this, we will uncover the profound reasons behind this restless desire, and, in doing so, discover the path to deeper, more enduring relationships. Understanding the nature of desire and attraction. Desire is not a fleeting whim, nor is it a simple craving that can be easily satisfied. It is a deep and intricate force, woven into the very fabric of our existence. It drives us to seek connection, to search for meaning, to long for something beyond the mundane. In the context of relationships, desire is often viewed as a source of passion and attraction, a force that binds two souls together. But this force is not always constant, nor is it always directed towards stability. The nature of desire is ever-changing, ever-shifting, like the tides of the ocean that move with a rhythm both calm and fierce. It is in understanding this nature that we can begin to comprehend why the flames of passion may burn brightly at first, only to fade into the background of routine and familiarity. Attraction at its core is a magnetic force. It is what pulls two individuals together, what sparks the initial connection. Yet what many fail to understand is that attraction is not static. It is not something that remains fixed in time. It evolves, it grows, it transforms. The very nature of desire means that it is always in search of something new, something different. In the early stages of a relationship, there is the thrill of discovery, the joy of uncovering the layers of another person, the excitement of exploring the unknown. But as time passes, that sense of novelty begins to wane. The initial intensity fades, and with it, the fire of attraction can slowly diminish. This is not a flaw in the nature of love or connection, but a reflection of the human condition itself. We are creatures who are driven by the pursuit of meaning, and once we find comfort and familiarity in something, the need for growth and challenge begins to stir. What was once exciting, what once drew us in, may begin to feel predictable, even suffocating. This is the paradox of desire. It is simultaneously the force that binds us and the force that pushes us to seek new horizons. In the realm of relationships, this internal contradiction can create a tension that many are not prepared to confront. The desire for stability is real, but so too is the desire for change. And it is in the interplay between these two forces that the restlessness often arises. The very foundation of attraction is not built upon the idea of permanence, but upon the tension between stability and chaos, between the known and the unknown. What women, and indeed all individuals, are seeking is not simply a relationship devoid of conflict or challenge. They seek something more profound, a connection that evolves, that stimulates the soul, that encourages growth. This desire for evolution is rooted in the very nature of our being. We are not static creatures. We are designed to grow, to adapt, to become more than we were yesterday, and relationships in their highest form should be mirrors of this same growth. So, the key to understanding the nature of desire and attraction lies in recognizing that it is not just about fulfilling a need, but about continually challenging that need, expanding it, and pushing it toward new dimensions. The moment we cease to grow in a relationship, the moment we allow ourselves to settle into comfort without challenge, we begin to starve the very force that once brought us together. And this is when boredom begins to seep in, when the soul, craving vitality, begins to look elsewhere for stimulation. Thus, desire is not a weakness, nor is it a flaw. It is an inherent part of our nature, one that should be embraced, understood, and channeled into the continual evolution of self and connection. It is only when we stop growing, when we stop seeking new challenges and experiences, that we begin to dull the spark of attraction that once existed between us. The illusion of stability in relationships. There is a profound illusion that many of us fall victim to, an illusion that tells us that stability in relationships is the ultimate goal. We are often conditioned to believe that love, true love, is found in the unshakable security of a relationship that remains unchanged, unmoving, and constant over time. It is a comforting thought, one that promises peace and solace, but it is ultimately a deception. The idea that a relationship can or should remain perfectly stable and unchanged is a falsehood, for it neglects the very essence of human nature. Stability in its purest form is a static condition. It is a state of being that does not change, a place where nothing moves or evolves. And yet, as humans, we are not designed for stagnation. We are creatures of motion, of growth, of continuous change. From the moment we are born, we begin to evolve, to learn, to adapt, and to transform. To demand that a relationship remains stable, to insist that it never shifts or grows, is to ask that the natural flow of life be halted. It is to deny the very principle of change, the principle that governs the universe itself. Relationships at their core are dynamic. They are not mere static bonds of affection. They are living entities, shaped by the interactions, emotions, and experiences of the individuals within them. They are ever evolving, shifting, and growing. And yet, we often find ourselves in relationships where the expectation is set that things should remain the same. We become comfortable in our routines, in the familiar patterns that we form with another person, and we mistake this comfort for true stability. But this is a mirage, a fleeting moment in time that cannot last forever. In seeking this false sense of stability, we often forget the importance of growth within relationships. True stability is not found in the absence of change, but in the resilience to adapt to change. It is found in the ability of two people to weather the storms of life together, to evolve together, to meet challenges and continue to build. Stability in a relationship does not mean that everything stays exactly the same, but rather that both individuals are secure in their ability to face whatever comes their way. The illusion of stability, then, is rooted in the fear of uncertainty, the desire to avoid discomfort. But it is in these moments of discomfort that we are most likely to grow, to learn, and to deepen our connection. When we cling too tightly to the idea of stability, we create a sense of entitlement to comfort, to predictability. And this entitlement breeds complacency. We stop striving for something deeper, something more meaningful. We begin to settle for the familiar, for what is easy, and we fail to recognize that it is only through challenge and change that a relationship without change is a relationship without life. It is in the ebb and flow of emotions, in the rising and falling of tensions, that we find the true pulse of connection. The truth is that stability, as we often conceive it, is not what we truly seek. What we seek is security, not in the static nature of a relationship, but in the depth of the bond we share. We long for a relationship that provides a foundation for growth, a place where both individuals are free to evolve and become more than they were before. We do not seek to remain the same, but to transform together. Thus, we must release the illusion of stability and instead embrace the reality of change. True love and connection are not found in the absence of challenges, but in the strength to face them together. Stability, when understood properly, is not the absence of change, but the commitment to weather every storm, to evolve through every phase, and to continually rediscover one another as we move through life. It is not in the stillness of stasis that relationships flourish, but in the resilience of adaptation, in the understanding that growth is the foundation of true, lasting connection. The silent yearning for chaos and uncertainty. In the quiet corners of our hearts, there exists a desire that many are reluctant to confront. It is not the desire for conflict, nor is it the hunger for destruction, but it is the yearning for chaos, an inherent craving for the unknown, the unpredictable, the untamed forces that stir the soul. It is a paradox, for while we seek comfort, stability, and security, we also yearn for the very thing that unsettles us, that pushes us out of our comfort zones, and that tests the strength of our bonds. The desire for chaos is not a flaw. It is an intrinsic part of human nature, an expression of our deep need for growth, evolution, and transformation. This yearning for chaos is not something that can be easily understood by the mind alone. It is a force that speaks to the depths of our being, to the parts of us that are not satisfied by the predictability of everyday life. We are creatures of habit, yes, but we are also creatures of change, of innovation, of exploration. The need for chaos arises when the rhythm of routine becomes stifling, when the predictable patterns of existence begin to feel like chains, when life begins to feel too small, too contained. It is in these moments that the longing for chaos emerges, not as a destructive force, but as a call for freedom, for expansion, for the breaking of boundaries. Chaos, in its most profound sense, is a catalyst for change. It is the shaking of the foundations, the breaking down of the old to make way for the new. In relationships, when the routine sets in, when the excitement fades into the background of everyday existence, the desire for chaos stirs, seeking to inject life into a connection that has become too comfortable, too secure. This is not a sign of dissatisfaction with the relationship itself, but rather a sign of the soul's deeper yearning for something more, a deeper level of engagement, a more profound experience. It is the subconscious plea for the unpredictable, the uncharted, the territory that cannot be mapped by logic or reason, but only discovered through experience and growth. But the yearning for chaos is not simply a desire to introduce conflict or instability. It is the search for a deeper understanding, for an experience that challenges us to grow beyond our current selves. The chaotic forces that we desire are not external storms, but internal transformations. When we feel stagnant, when we feel like we are no longer evolving, we begin to crave disruption, not because we seek pain, but because we seek awakening. Chaos serves as the spark that ignites change, pushing us out of our comfort zones and into the unknown, where true transformation happens. In relationships, this desire manifests in many ways. It can take the form of a longing for adventure, for new experiences, for a change in the dynamic that shakes things up and rekindles the fire. It is a search for passion, for intensity, for depth. It is the recognition that a relationship, no matter how stable, is at risk of falling into the trap of complacency, and that something must shift in order to keep the flame of connection alive. The yearning for chaos is not a rejection of love or intimacy. Rather, it is a desire to deepen the connection, to create a bond that is not just stable but alive. It is the pursuit of a relationship that is dynamic, that challenges both individuals to grow, to confront their fears, and to become more than they were before. The true beauty of chaos lies not in its destruction, but in its ability to break us open, to force us to confront the rawness of life, to bring us closer to the truth of who we are. Thus, when we feel the stirrings of chaos within, we must not resist it, nor should we fear it. Instead, we must understand it as an invitation to grow, to evolve, and to transform. The yearning for chaos is the soul's way of calling us to step outside the boundaries we have created, to embrace the uncertainty and the unknown, and to trust that in doing so, we will find a deeper, more authentic connection. The chaos we seek is not a force of destruction, but a force of creation, a force that shapes us into the best versions of ourselves and allows us to build relationships that are truly alive. The role of emotional stimulation in connection. Emotions are the lifeblood of any relationship, for it is through emotion that we truly connect with another soul. We are not mere intellectual beings, nor are we creatures of physical attraction alone. We are emotional beings, driven by the currents of feeling that surge through us, shaping our experiences, guiding our decisions, and forming the bonds that tie us to others. In relationships, it is the depth of emotional stimulation that keeps the connection alive, that breathes vitality into what would otherwise be a dry, static union. Yet we must understand that emotional stimulation is not merely a fleeting rush of feeling. It is a steady, purposeful force that must be nurtured, cultivated, and maintained. At the beginning of a relationship, emotional stimulation comes naturally. The excitement of newness, the thrill of discovery, and the joy of shared experiences create an intense bond between two people. In these early stages, emotions flow freely, unrestrained, as the two individuals explore each other's minds, hearts, and desires. But over time, as the relationship grows, the emotional stimulation can begin to fade. The rush of novelty gives way to the comfort of familiarity, and with that comfort comes the temptation to stop engaging on a deeper emotional level. The danger in this is that, without continued emotional stimulation, a relationship becomes a mere habit, a routine. The spark that once ignited the connection begins to dim, and the bond begins to lose its vibrancy. To maintain a thriving relationship, emotional stimulation must be actively pursued. It is not enough to simply exist alongside one another, content with the surface-level interactions that become all too easy. Emotional engagement requires effort, intention, and vulnerability. It is the willingness to go beyond the comfortable and familiar, to delve into the depths of one another's inner worlds, to explore not just the joys and pleasures, but also the fears, insecurities, and challenges that each individual faces. The strength of a relationship lies not in the absence of conflict, but in the ability to navigate those emotional challenges together, to rise above them, and emerge stronger, more united. Emotional stimulation also comes from shared experiences. It is the adventure, the exploration, and the discovery that sparks emotion, that creates lasting memories, and that binds two people together in a deeper way. Whether it is traveling to a new place, embarking on a project together, or simply stepping outside of the mundane routine of daily life, these shared experiences create moments of emotional intensity that reinvigorate the relationship. These moments are not just for pleasure. They serve as markers in time, emotional touchstones that remind both individuals why they chose each other in the first place. Without these experiences, the emotional connection begins to weaken as the relationship settles into predictability. And with that predictability comes a certain emotional detachment. Furthermore, emotional stimulation requires that both individuals are open to each other's growth. As we evolve, so too must our emotional engagement with our partner. To grow together, we must continue to support one another's emotional journeys, to encourage each other to reach beyond our comfort zones, and to challenge each other to embrace the unknown. The emotional connection that exists between two people is not a static bond. It must grow and expand in tandem with the growth of each individual. If one partner stagnates, the emotional stimulation of the relationship is compromised, for the connection between them becomes one-dimensional, no longer fueled by the excitement of personal and shared growth. Emotional stimulation also means the ability to communicate openly and honestly. This honesty is not just about sharing successes, joys, or triumphs, but also about expressing fears, disappointments, and vulnerabilities. The more open we are with our emotions, the more deeply we invite our partner into our world, and the stronger the bond becomes. Vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength, for it is in allowing ourselves to be seen fully and authentically that we invite our partner to do the same. The importance of emotional stimulation cannot be overstated. It is the lifeblood of a connection, the force that keeps the relationship vibrant, dynamic, and alive. Without it, the relationship falls into the trap of complacency, where both partners simply coexist without truly engaging with one another. In order for love to thrive, it must be nourished by continual emotional engagement, by sharing experiences, by being vulnerable, and by growing together. When we neglect the emotional pulse of a relationship, we allow it to wither. But when we cultivate it with intention, it becomes a powerful force that elevates both individuals and the relationship itself. Why comfort can become a prison of the soul. Comfort is often viewed as the ultimate goal, the state we strive for in our relationships and in life. It is the place where we can let down our guard, relax, and feel safe. Comfort is desirable for it promises a reprieve from the constant striving, from the turmoil and uncertainty that often accompany change. It is the space where we can find rest and solace. But what many fail to realize is that comfort, when taken too far, can become a prison of the soul. It is within the walls of comfort that we become stagnant, complacent, and ultimately disconnected from the very essence of what makes us human, our need for growth, challenge, and transformation. When we first enter a relationship, there is a natural sense of excitement, of discovery. We are not yet comfortable, and this discomfort propels us to learn about the other person, to explore new ways of being and thinking, to navigate the unknown. But as time passes and the relationship settles into routine, comfort begins to creep in. It starts as a small blessing, a soft cushion of security, and it feels good. But over time, we begin to mistake comfort for fulfillment, and we forget that it is not the goal of the relationship itself, but merely a byproduct of a deeper connection. The danger lies in allowing comfort to become the foundation of the relationship, because comfort can lull us into a state of inertia, where we no longer push ourselves, no longer challenge one another, and no longer strive to evolve. This is where the prison begins to form. When we become too comfortable in a relationship, we stop taking risks. We stop engaging in the difficult conversations, the deep emotional exchanges, and the moments of vulnerability that are essential for growth. We begin to live in a space that is predictable, safe, and free from disruption. But in this space, something vital begins to die. The relationship loses its depth, its intensity, and its passion. It becomes a hollow shell of what it once was, a place of quiet resignation rather than dynamic connection. Comfort also breeds complacency in the individuals involved. When we become too comfortable with our partner, we stop seeing them for who they truly are. Instead of seeing a partner who is constantly evolving, we begin to see them as a fixed entity, someone who fits neatly into the box we've created for them. We stop challenging each other to grow, to evolve, and to reach beyond the limits of our current selves. This complacency breeds a subtle resentment, for deep down we know that we are not living to our fullest potential, both individually and together. And yet, we remain in the comfort of familiarity because the alternative, change, feels too risky, too unsettling. Comfort can also prevent us from facing the difficult emotions and unresolved issues that lie within us. It is in the discomfort of a relationship that we are forced to confront our own fears, insecurities, and flaws. Without the tension of challenge, without the emotional strain that forces us to grow, we become complacent in our own emotional lives. We avoid the hard conversations, the moments of confrontation that would bring us closer. Instead, we retreat into the safety of silence, where the difficult emotions can fester and go unaddressed. This leads to a subtle disconnect, where both partners feel as though they are drifting apart, not because of external circumstances, but because they have stopped engaging with each other on a deeper level. Ultimately, comfort, when it becomes the sole focus of a relationship, undermines the very connection it seeks to preserve. True intimacy and connection are forged in the fires of challenge, in the emotional highs and lows, in the moments of vulnerability and growth. It is only when we step outside of our comfort zones, when we face the discomfort of change, that we can truly evolve together. Comfort is not the enemy, but when it becomes the dominant force in a relationship, it traps us in a cycle of stagnation. The key to a thriving relationship is not in the pursuit of comfort, but in the willingness to embrace discomfort, to step into the unknown, and to grow together. Thus, we must recognize the danger of comfort and understand that it is only through challenge and change that a relationship can truly thrive. We must embrace the discomfort that comes with growth, for it is in these moments of discomfort that we discover the true depth of our connection. Comfort is fleeting, but the strength built through overcoming challenges is what sustains a relationship. It is the willingness to face discomfort that keeps the soul of a relationship alive, that keeps both individuals striving towards something greater than themselves.